Calgary home sales were down by 17% in April compared to March, but it isn't a bad news story. And it's not the story you're expecting because home sales in Calgary hit an all-time high for April and set a new price record. And we're going to discuss all the details after the intro. The definitive guide on how to manage your credit, product, penalty, price in that order. It's never been more important to get your mortgage right. All right, so welcome back. Today we're discussing the Calgary real estate market and what is going on there because it has been an absolutely crazy couple of months. You see, Calgary didn't have the big run up that Toronto and Vancouver and the rest of the country had over the last year and a half. In fact, they've lagged pretty much across the board. But it seems that it is Calgary's time because we are setting month after month of sales records. We're setting new benchmark price records. And the best part of this all is that energy is coming back to life, which means the Alberta economy is also coming back to life. And I'm going to discuss all the details of that. But before we get into it, do me that favor, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget to enter the 25,000 subscriber draw where we're giving away $5,000. So this time around, we had to make sure that we did the contest 100% right because obviously we are putting together a contest for a pretty significant amount of money, $5,000. So in order to enter the $5,000 draw, go to 360giveaway.ca. You'll find all the rules, all the regulations there, and you can sign up for that contest. By the way, if you want to get extra entries, you can do so by following me on Instagram and sharing the contest socially on whatever platform you choose. It doesn't matter. Pick the one that's right for you. And you can also, for the first time ever, not being a Mortgage 360 client, sign up for my Inner Circle newsletter that we send out on a monthly basis, sometimes more depending on what's going on in the market. So again, 360giveaway.ca in order to sign up for that. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's discuss the Calgary real estate market, what's going on here. I'm going to jump you into the headlines as we do. Here is the headline from B&M Bloomberg. Calgary housing market sees record high sales for April. This is absolutely true. Even though sales were down from the March highs, we are up 6% in number of sales. And I'll get to that when we get to the actual stats package from the Calgary Real Estate Board, which by the way is probably the best stats package in the country. If you're watching this and you work for another real estate board somewhere else in the country, take a look at what Calgary's doing and try to bring up the standard and get to where Calgary is from a stats package perspective. Now, going into this and jumping right into all the numbers, this is the April Calgary monthly stats package. They have, like I said, one of the best stat packages out there. And we're going to just jump right in here. Let's talk about sales. 3,401 sales. This is down from about 4,100 in March, but is still up from March of last year. And in a second here, I'll show you the graph that shows what sales have been doing pretty much across the board in Calgary. And then as we get into total residential price, you can see this is up about 17%. It is now the highest that has ever been in Calgary. We're now at $526,000 for the benchmark price in Calgary. At the beginning of the year, we were under 500,000. I'll show you in a second. There was a really big jump up here in February. And as you can see, new listings are down, inventory's down. And what that typically means for prices is we're going to see higher prices in the future because there are less options for people to buy. As you can see, I'm not going to go into the details here, but Calgary does a really good job of breaking out their detached price, their semi-detached price, their row price, their apartment prices. But I do want to show you here the one graph that I think is really, really interesting. And this is the sales numbers for April going back to 2008. And what you can see is it is the highest that has been going back to 2008. In fact, housing sales have never been higher than they were for the month of April in any year in the history of Calgary. Now, in contrast, I want to show you March's numbers because as you can see, this March number was absolutely huge and it absolutely set a record for Calgary home sales. And a lot of this is attributed to buyers coming in from outside of the province and purchasing investment properties because they believe that the Calgary market is lagging the rest of the country. And this is true. The Calgary, the Edmonton, the Saskatchewan markets have lagged the rest of the country for basically the last 7 years. And the reason why is because they're very much commodity dependent markets, and those commodity dependent markets have not been faring well. Now, what's happened obviously in the last year, especially with what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, is we have seen commodity prices go through the roof, which has led to the economies in Alberta and Saskatchewan catching up to the rest of the country, or at least having a little bit of a propelling movement forward compared to what they've had in the past. Because honestly, when oil prices go down around the world, Calgary's economy, Alberta's economy definitely go down as well, or they don't fare as well as the rest of the economy. And what we're seeing is the very typical outperforming of Alberta's real estate market compared to other markets because of high commodity prices. And that's just a general rule for Alberta, is when you see commodity prices get higher, they tend to outperform from a real estate perspective. And that's exactly what's going on right now. Now, I do want to show you in comparison the March numbers, because if you take a look at the March numbers, this is that really big number, 4,107 sales, up 42% from last year. We see the housing prices jump by about 17% from last year. And if you take a look at the month prior to that, February, housing prices were about 499,000, which was up 16% from last year. But if you just go from February to April of this year, you're basically seeing a 4% increase in prices in basically a 3-month period, which is absolute insanity from the perspective of housing prices. You're seeing a pretty big bump pretty fast, when you're also seeing higher interest rates across the country and other markets that are down pretty significantly, especially if you're looking at the outlying areas of Toronto and the outlying areas of Vancouver. By the way, we're going to do a video tomorrow on the outlying areas of Vancouver because it tells a significantly different story than those Vancouver numbers showed us. Now, I do want to take you and show you the breakout of the entire city. This is really cool and a number that I really love, and a graph that I really love, or an image that I really love. I guess it's more of an infographic, but this tells us the tail of the tape with respect to which communities are performing really, really well. And if you take a look at where the highest increase in prices are, they're in the northeast of Calgary, up almost 23% since last year, and the north part of Calgary up 22%. Now, these are typically, as you can see, where the deals tend to happen in the Calgary market. If you see the southeast, it's up about 21.4% as well. But these are typically where you find really good deals on real estate. This north, kind of coming down the east side all the way to the south sort of area of the city, tends to be where houses are undervalued. And then if you take a look at the west, the northwest, the city center, not going up as much in price as some of the other areas, because this is typically where the more expensive houses are. But what this tells us is that entry-level market in Calgary is hot. Lots of investors coming in and buying houses pretty much sight unseen. By the way, if you haven't seen the multitude of videos that we have on this channel and other channels talking about only investing in places that you understand and where you live, I highly encourage you to do that if you're from Ontario or BC and you're thinking about coming into the Calgary market, because this is not a market like the other markets. Yes, it's a real estate market, but where other markets tend to fare well in normal economies, the Alberta real estate market can suffer quite extensively when you see a downturn in oil prices, which means it's a very cyclical market, which can leave you holding the bag pretty quickly if you are not a sophisticated investor. So I don't recommend coming into markets that you don't understand when you're buying investment real estate, whether you are watching some investment real estate network that is telling you that home prices are really good value there and they're lower priced and that the market's bound to come up. Well, that could be true, but the reality of it is the market can turn really fast here. So understand and know exactly what you're doing if you're purchasing real estate in the Calgary and the Alberta market, and make sure if you are going to do it that you get a really good realtor who understands the market, who's going to be honest with you with respect to whether or not you should be buying. So really interesting times in the Calgary real estate market. If you are looking at getting into this market, if you're looking at buying a home, especially if you are a first-time home buyer, I highly recommend that you take our first-time home buyers course. It's linked in the description below. It will give you all the tools you need to make sure that you pick the right realtor, to make sure that you don't get screwed when purchasing a property, and that you have all the information necessary to make an informed decision. It takes about 60 minutes of your time in order to go through that. It's priced super low, and you get a super awesome deal from Mortgage 360 if you do end up buying that course. So I highly encourage that. Again, link in the description below. And if you need a recommendation for a realtor in Calgary, there's a link in the description below for that as well. We can definitely hook you up with a really great person who's going to make sure you're taken care of, and it's going to be matched perfectly to you. And as always, if you found this video useful, do me that favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Please hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. Don't forget about that race to 25,000 subscribers. The entry form is now live, and we'll see you on the very next one. Cheers.